Tell me what's your favorite thing to do in terms of impacting people. Do you like motivational speaking? Do you like life skills training? Are those the same things for you? How do you like to impact people the most?
One of the things I've been doing recently is working with small groups. And I have started doing it on video so people can participate wherever they are in the world in a way that works for them. But there's something about working in groups that are small enough that people can get personal interaction, but large enough so that we can see ourselves in another. Because most of the things that we each deal with we think it's a personal thing, but it's human phenomena. So there's something about that particular format that I'm finding is really effective.
You've had to overcome and have overcome some really difficult things in your life. A lot of people have. Yours are very dramatic. You've had to overcome those things and be tough to do it. And you did it on your own. You chose to kind of push this down, handle it on your own instead of talk about it. Do you consider that toughness? Do you consider it compartmentalizing? Do you consider it denial? What was the quality or the strategy that you used to handle that for 10 years without ever touching it?
Initially, I think it was a little of all of them. There was some grit to it, certainly. I mean, you don't grow up on a ranch without some grit. But I think, in retrospect, it was also a little bit of denial, a little bit of fantasy. Like if I just pretend it didn't happen, even to myself, and never admit it, then it's as though it didn't happen.
What would your advice be if you were in one of your groups or whatever, and you encountered you at 18 years old, someone that maybe it was on a college campus here in the States, maybe it was after work or whatever, somebody had been violated the way you were violated, and they confided in you, this happened to me a year ago, I haven't told anybody, I'm dealing with this internally on my own. Having gone down that road, what would be your advice to that person?
Do not isolate. Speak to people. I think my road of healing took so long because I isolated and kept it to myself. Get into therapy, get into a group of survivors, something. Get into something that allows you to find community and realize that the responses you're having are natural and normal and you're not alone. And it's interesting that you say that, because every time I speak, which really truly is one of my favorite things, do public speaking, every time I do that, people come up and confide in me that they not only have been sexually assaulted or violated in some way, but that they've never told a soul. Adults. There was a woman who was 77 who told me she had lived her life never telling anybody. Could you imagine bearing that from being a teen?
That's the reason I wanted to ask you, because it sounds to me that if you could talk to 18-year-old Cheryl, you would say different things than you said to yourself then.
So different. Suffering grows in silence. Pain grows, it replicates, it increases in size. And when we can shine the light on it, the light of being transparent, it has no place to continue to fester. It really is the most profound healing. Although I had done so much work, the most profound healing came when I finally admitted it aloud and to others, but to myself.
I believe monsters live in the dark.
Yes.
And when you turn the light on, it's like, oh, that doesn't have as much power over me as I thought it did. I want to use this as a teaching moment as well. I have done some life skills seminars over the years myself. We worked with the whole family, and these seminars would have a couple hundred people in them. And this family had 3 generations in the same group. The grandma, her kids, then their kids. And grandma, sweetest lady, is very wealthy family, ranchers in East Texas. And she had a secret. And we got to a part in the training where you really unburden yourself with things that if you have something that you feel guilty or ashamed about, And she was having the hardest time, and she said, I just can't do it. I can't give it a voice. I'm sorry. I know that y'all are courageous and you've done it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And they came to get me to come and talk with her. Everybody was in small groups, and I came and talked to her. And I said, look, just you and me right here. Look me in the eye and just tell me quietly, there's nothing you can say that I'm going to judge you.
Mm.
This has burdened you your whole life? She said, I felt guilty and ashamed every day of my life since it happened. And I said, you're in your 70s and you've carried this burden all this time? What is it? And she said, when I was 12, I had a seizure. And I said, and I'm waiting for her to say, like, and during that time I went and robbed a bank and shot 9 people or whatever. But that was the end of the story. At 12, she had some type of seizure. And in her generation, that was interpreted in a lot of different ways, like demonic possession or
Oh.
something bad. It was not good. And she felt so much shame for that. She carried that for almost 60 years every day of her life because she isolated about it. And when she said it, everybody's like, what?
Like, that's it? Right.
She had no way of knowing that until she talked to people about it. And I said, look, that's a neurological storm that you can have once or repeatedly, and it has nothing to do with you. And I'm talking to her, and she's getting taller as I'm talking to her, and her grandkids and her kids are around her. And the next morning, she looked 20 years younger. She was free from this burden. That was no burden at all, only in her mind because she isolated about it. Monsters live in the dark. And when you talk about it, you really claim dominion over it. You have a power over it that you don't have if you don't talk about it. You're not alone. People think I'm the only one that feels this way, suffers this. No, you're not. Nobody has invented new suffering in the last 2,000 years. Nobody's invented new suffering. We share it with somebody, somewhere, somehow.
When I was trying to overcome the initial shock of being abducted by these men, I relied on the stories I heard from other people, like the Holocaust survivors. And it was so therapeutic to me that I made it my mission now to tell inspiring stories of other people. And so I shot this docuseries called Rise of people who've done that, just have risen from the ashes. It's one of the things that is most inspiring about watching you, and my mom and grandma were both really big fans. It's the stories of hope that you bring. And I know that they're here with me today. Not talking like the person who thought I was crazy for thinking I'm talking to the dead, but I really do feel them here. And I want in some way to bring these stories of hope to the world as well. I think in these polarizing times, seeing somebody else's example of somebody who's been able to pull it together and overcome and feel like, oh, that's me. I'm just like them. I can do it. Even if our circumstances in life are dramatically different, I think we learn through example. We learn through modeling. We learn through story.